In this video we are going to see how to edit the sounds of two samplers of Zynthian. The first one is the FluidSynth and the second one is the Linux Sampler. These are two samplers coming from the Linux world. The FluidSynth use a specific type of file which are called SF2 for Sound Font 2. And the Linux Sampler use a different kind of file called SFZ, and it can also load gig files which comes from the Giga Sampler program. So here I've created, as you will see, two layers. One is using the Linux Sampler, the first one is using the Linux Sampler, and the second one is using FluidSynth. And as you can see, the possibility to edit the sounds are very limited from the local user interface, and you can see a very limited subset. So here for the Linux Sampler you can see the basic one, and if I go to the FluidSynth you see that you just get one more line called effects because the FluidSynth integrates an effect processor. So in this video we are going to see how to create banks in an advanced way for these two synths. As soon as you want to deal with advanced use, you will need to deal with network connections. In my case I'm using the Ethernet link, so the Zynthian is connected to my studio network. And the first operation to know is to get the name and the IP address of the Zynthian. So to do that, click on back and go to the admin menu and scroll down to this line called network info. Push on the button and you will see that you get the name of the Zynthian and also the IP address of the machine. Once you get them, you will be able to use them to connect remotely using a computer to the Zynthian. I will show you quickly for reference what is the, let's say, official way to get access to the banks for Linux Sampler and FluidSynth. You will need to connect to the integrated web server of the Zynthian. So to do that, you need to enter in the address bar of the web browser the name that you have seen on the previous sequence. So it's zynthian.local, so you enter the name, and once you do that, you will get access to the parameters. Note that the first time that you connect to this page, you will need to enter a password. The password is raspberry in lowercase. Once you are connected, as I said, you get access to the details of the machine. So now you can click on library, go to synth files, and as you can see there are three folders, one for the gig files, one for the SF2 files, and one for the SFZ files. So on this page you are able to load and manage the banks for the samplers of the Zynthian using the integrated web server. Honestly, I prefer the other method that I'm going to show you just now, just because it's very similar to what you do with Linux and or Windows or Mac, because it's basically based on file transfer and drag and drop between your computer and the Zynthian. So the first thing that you need to do for an advanced use of Zynthian is to install a few tools. Depending on your computer configuration, you will not necessarily use them. What I show here is for a Windows machine. The first tool that you need to install is called WinSCP, what you can see here on the web page. WinSCP is a tool to perform file exchange between two machines, so it will be between your PC and the Zynthian in our case. SCP is a very well-known protocol. The only thing is that Windows does not implement SCP natively. Linux and macOS are implementing it, so there is no equivalent of WinSCP for Linux and Mac because they do it naturally. An important thing to know if you download WinSCP is to go to their website, so winscp.net. For a simple reason, WinSCP is an open source tool, and you have some funny guys, funny in between quotes, who have made some copies of WinSCP, and they provide them on some download sites, and they say, okay, this is a free download, you can get access to the tool, etc, etc, etc. And the problem is that in some cases what you find on these download sites is not a real WinSCP. These are modified WinSCP. In the base case, what you get is a WinSCP with a lot of advertisement and things like that, so you get annoyed by this. But in some cases, what I've seen is you can find WinSCP version, modified versions, with malwares or trojans or things like that. Or they also provide some stupid tools like optimization tool. We claim that we can optimize your PC, etc. So take an extreme care, download WinSCP only from the official websites. And if you're on the Windows 10, what you can also do, as I show you here, you can also get it from Microsoft store, online store. So you can get it directly from this website or from the Windows store. The second tool that I recommend you to download, especially if you use FluidSynth, is Polyphon. Polyphon is a very, very nice tool which will allow you to create your own sound font files. So you will be able to create your own SF2 files. The specificity of sound fonts file is that these are files which contain both the samples and the data related to the samples, so the tuning data, filtering data, and things like that. So you really need a tool. You cannot generate manually a sound font file, and there are a lot of tools available on the web which allow you to edit sound font files. But really, the one I prefer is Polyphon. It exists in French and in English version, and it's a very nice one. The last tool, it's absolutely not mandatory. It's a tool that it's nice to know. It's called SFZ. It's an editor to generate SFZ files which are for the Linux Sampler. Honestly, I just show it to you for information because I do not use this tool. As I will show you later in this video, SFZ files are just text files. So since I am a programmer, it's easier for me to directly make the SFZ using a text editor. I'm using, for example, for that Notepad++. Once you know the syntax of the file, which is very easy to learn, you will see it's very, very easy to create an SFZ file. The first time that you use WinSCP, you will need to configure it. So sorry for my screenshots, my computer is configured in French, so it's a little bit different on the English version. When you start it the first time, you will see only one line, new site, and the different configuration that you have created will be listed below. So on the right side, you first need to select SCP as a protocol. For the hostname, you have to enter the IP address of the Zynthian that you have found on the network info page, what we have seen just before. This address normally do not change, so each time you start via Zynthian, normally it keeps the same address. But take care, because if you move the Zynthian on another network, the IP address may change. And of course, do not enter this specific IP address, because this is my IP address, and it has 99% of chance that it does not work in your case. Username is root and the password is raspberry. So once you have entered all the information, you will get a save button which appears. So I recommend you to save with a password, otherwise you will have to enter the password each time you start WinSCP. And when it's saved, you will see the configuration stored on the left side, and then you just need to click on connection. So let's see now how to use WinSCP. One thing that you have to know is that the first time that you start WinSCP and you connect to the Zynthian, you will be asked to confirm that you really want to do it, because there is a security feature inside WinSCP to avoid unwanted connections. So just say, yes, I want to establish a connection. It will record identity of a Zynthian, and you will not have to do it again. It's just one time you have to do it. So what you see here on the left side of the screen, it's the nothing else but the local disk of your computer, and on the right pane it's the disk of the Zynthian, so the SD card. As you can see, you have access to absolutely everything in the Zynthian, so you can browse absolutely everything. So take care not to modify files if you don't know what to do. If you wonder, you decide to browse the Zynthian disk and you go somewhere in the folders, you have to know that to locate the Zynthian files, you will just need to click on the icon on the top over there. So it's on the top of the list, and you click on this icon until you see the slash symbol on the top here, and this means that you are on the root of the SD card. So now click on the Zynthian alias. It's not a folder, it's called an alias, and you will get access to the various files which makes the Zynthian application. In these folders, you will find one specific folder called Zynthian data. Click on it, and you will find another folder called Synth. Open the Synth, and what you see here is exactly the same structure that we have seen on the web server, with the three subfolders called gig, SF2 and SFZ. So what you see here is exactly the same thing as what you see with the web server, with exactly the same structure. If we go to the SF2, you can add your own Synth2 files in this folder just by taking them from your computer and dragging and dropping them in this folder. Just one thing to know is that Synth2 are single files which contain audio and sound parameters. For the SFZ, it's a little bit different. First, as you can see, the Zynthian for the SFZ use a well-organized structure. And if you look to the Zynthian, you will see that you will see the same categories. So here what I've done, I've created my own category. It's for the test, called DSS1. It contains sounds that I've taken from my DSS1 synthesizer, and I've put some samples coming from my DSS1. That's what you see here, KSDU, so it's a copy of DSS1 disk. And what I will do, so first I will show you what happens, what you can do from WinSCP. So don't forget that you are connected to the Zynthian. So what you do here on this pane, it's really done in real time on Zynthian. So basically you can move files, you can delete files, you can create folders, etc. So what I will do for the demonstration purpose here, I will select the different folders and I will delete them. So I click on delete, and as you can see, they are removed immediately from the Zynthian. They disappear, so they are physically removed from the SD card. If I want to put them again, or put over sound banks, what I just need to do is to take a folder from my computer and drag and drop it on the in the Zynthian, and it's copied over the network in the Zynthian memory. So right now the file is back on the SD card. Sorry. So I will put again the previous structure. So I will take back the other files to get back to my previous configuration. And even if it's not the goal of this video, I will show you quickly how SFZ soundbanks are created. As I told you, the SF2 are single files containing a wave and sound parameters. For SFZ, it's a little bit different. The SFZ separate the sound data and the wave data. So that's the same thing. You can organize your sound and your waves in the way you prefer. What you create here is will be exactly visible in the same way when you browse on the sounds on the Zynthian. Well, as I said, the goal of this video is not to explain you in detail how to create SFZ files. There are many things to know about them. But I will show you how the .sfz file is built. As you can see, so this is one of the SFZ files that I've taken from my Zynthian. And as you can see, SFZ files are nothing else than text files. So you can edit them with a text editor. I told you in the beginning of the video of a tool called SFZ, which is able to generate the various fields of SFZ file. But when you know exactly how the files are built, personally, I prefer to do it using, for example, here I am using Notepad++, and I'm creating myself the SFZ file. There is one important thing, that's what I wanted to show you. You will see that on the various line, a line on the SFZ file is always built in the same way. You have a parameter name, equal, and a value. Take care, everybody is coded by this. There must be no space, absolutely no space between the value and the parameters. So it's parameter name equal value and no space between between them. This is the most common error that people do. As you can see, it's also possible to put on the same line, for example, one parameter, but you can also put more than one parameter. So here you can see there is a line with one parameter, and this other line contains two parameters. It's allowed to do that as long as you put a space. That's why you are not allowed to put a space between the equal and the value, because spaces are used to delimit, to find the limit between various parameters. I will not explain. You have to know that there are something like 100 parameters existing. To show you how things are very quickly, how things are organized. Group are data which apply to a complete sound bank, and region. What you see here, I've created a group which contains 3 regions, and each region contains an area, define an area on the keyboard. So you say this wave comes from this key to this key, and the sample was played with this key, etc., etc. That's the only difficulty with SFZ. There are many parameters to know. There are some good tables existing on the web which show you the various parameters. Basically, as you can see, it's not very complex, but you have to do it one time. So let's go back to the Zynthian to see what happened after I made the file transfer, the SFZ file. So I will create a new synth layer, and I will choose Linux Sampler, and choose my channel, and now what you see is that there is a new folder called DSS1. It's exactly the same folder that you have seen on WinSCP, so as you can see you can put any name, and if you go inside you will see the different subfolders that I have created. So as I said, it's very easy to organize your sound within the Zynthian. There is just one thing to know, a special thing to know about this way of working. The Zynthian only loads a sound bank when you click on select, when you push on the select button. It's not possible to edit something on the PC, transfer it on the Zynthian, and hear immediately what has been changed, because when you change the file content, it's not updated. So dynamically, I mean. So what you have to do in that case, it's very easy. The easiest thing to do is simply to, so here for example I've loaded bank number 13, and if you want to hear the change that you have made in sound, just go back with back button, load another bank, and then reload again the previous bank, and then you will hear the changes that you have made in your sound.